This episode of NOLA Film Scene is sponsored by our fellow actor, Jana McCaffery, attorney at law.
Hey, this is Dean, and I'm still here. My butt hurts. But I guess this is part 2, so let's go.
Welcome to NOLA Film Scene with TJ Plaideau.
I'm TJ.
And as always, I'm Plaideau.
Back? What do you mean, back?
Nice.
You ready? You ready? You ready? Ready? Nice. What you thinking? What you thinking? You got something pondering.
Yeah. Well, like I want to ask my usual question, but we've already covered you getting into the biz.
I mean, I can keep going. I stumbled into Los Angeles, and then randomly enough, it was where I first started working when I was a kid was at a skating rink, being like a DJ, and the family that owned the skating rink was just fantastic family, and it turned out the older brother had moved there, or to like San Diego-ish area, somewhere in between. And so I moved and went to Los Angeles, like everyone, enjoyed my car for a little while, did not tell my parents that, and then found him. I was like, all right, cool, I'll go stay with them. And then I was just driving back and forth for a bit. And then eventually a friend of a friend was like, yeah, you can come crash on our couch. So I was like, oh, nice. So I took that route. And, you know, like everyone, started off doing a little extra work, that kind of stuff. Met my first group of like BFFs in Los Angeles that are still like some of my best friends today. They were all from Texas. So then every time we'd go out, you know, the girls would be like, oh, hey, buddy, are y'all all from Texas? Oh, yeah, we're all from Texas. Well, Dean's from a suburb of Texas. Louisiana. So, still friends with them today because they're so lovingly hateful.
From a suburb of Texas.
Yeah. And then stumbled into an acting class with a guy named Aaron Speiser. And then world changed. And that's when I was like, nope, not leaving this for a while.
What was your favorite show, or one of your favorite shows that you've worked on?
You know, we did a silly shark movie in Mississippi back in the day called Mississippi River Shark at the time. And the fun part about it was that when the producer called me, he was like, hey, we're doing this film in Mississippi, and I have one of the leads I'd love for you to look at, so I'm just going to show you the script. Oh, okay, great. Reading through the script, I'm like, all right, cool. It's, you know, it's same roles I'm used to playing. No big deal. I can do that in my sleep. We're good. He's like, all right, great. You liked it? Yeah, cool. He's like, I just thought that role would be like so much fun for you. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks, man. So we jump on a little Zoom just to kind of talk about stuff. And he's like, so did you like, what was like, you know, what's your favorite thing about the script so far? I'm like, oh, I mean, it's cool. I like, you know, we've got a neat relationship between me and the girl. He's like, oh, no. The other role. The Wyatt role? Really? Fuck yeah. Yes, let's do it. Because it was like the weird dude he's like the threesome that shows up between the relationship. And I was like, oh, absolutely. Because, you know, a good portion of that period of time, I was usually clean shaven. And like, it's funny when casting directors get to know you in their way. Because, you know, out of like the 4 or 5 I dealt with throughout the Southeast, they all had their mind made up of what I was. So one, never called me in unless I had a beard. One, never called me in unless I was clean shaven and in a suit, you know. And everybody kind of had me where they wanted me. When I got something like that, there was, you know, just straight producer call. It was like, yeah, I want you to do blah, blah, blah. And it's the weird dude. And I'm like, this is like a dream. Thank you. It's like, I thought you'd enjoy it. I was like, I felt like this was very much your personality. I'm like, oh, yeah, he's so annoying. But the interesting part is if you have me on like a 22-minute comedy style show, or I'm playing the comedic relief that is like, for lack of better words, the person that's always on, versus a dramatic role or something very serious or their serious tone. You know, I'm always in the way of thinking that depending on my human that I am at the moment, I'm probably going to stay close to, you know, I'm not playing the serial killer and then jumping straight to jokes. Lunchtime, I'm sorry. But during majority, if we're like, you know, back to back shooting, there's kind of cuts in between, but mostly we're just, you know, going forward. It's going to be that human being you're dealing with. I'm not like psychotic to the point that you're like, hey, how's your daughter? I don't have a daughter. I'm not fucking weird. But, you know, I'm going to stay within that human being. If there's an accent, the accent doesn't leave. If there's a, you know, a way of behavior that goes with it, that thing's staying. So when you have me on a 22-minute comedy and I'm the one that's always on, I'm a lot. To the point that there was a scene, and I remember it because a lady named Misty Talley was directing it, and she came over and she was like, hey, because originally it was, the sci-fi movie was supposed to be kind of serious, right? And like, it's just not that script. It's a sci-fi shark movie. If you're squirting blood that's coming from a shark that's in the water, clearly we're past the point of this being completely serious. We're not there. And they had the realization before we started shooting that, okay, yeah, this is totally comedy. Let's use it. So they gave me more freedom, and that just automatically speeds things up, right? So we get to a scene, and Misty was like, hey, so there's supposed to be this, like, you know, a couple seconds of this scene where you're grabbing the guns, you're packing them up, and you're heading off to go meet everybody. I'm like, okay. It's like, but because the way we're shooting, everything's going so much faster, I need to fill like a good 4 to 5 minutes at least. Okay. What are you going to do 4 to 5 minutes? Like, if you said I can, you're good. Are you okay with that? Okay. Let's see. And literally they had to cut because I will play. If you let me play, I'm a fucking kid in a candy store. Let me go. I'll make stuff up. I had myself wrapped in the bag. It made sense to that human being. But if you were not that human being, you're like, what is going on with you? So, you know, benefits to it, I guess.
What was it about that class that you referenced that changed things for you? What stands out in your mind about that class that all of a sudden it was different?
Truth. So many classes for acting is about acting. And it was truth. You know, Aaron's like the only coach Will Smith's ever had. He's just one of those guys that has always coached like humongous people, but always did his own little studio and kept his classes going and doing that. So you were able to, like, you know, you'd be doing your scene and, hey, Will Smith's sitting in the fucking audience. That's cool. Okay. Don't tell me that again. You know, because then you're in your head. But what was so great with Aaron is the talk was never necessarily about, hey, let's talk about your technique. It was, let's talk about the life that's going on, right? This is all human behavior. It's why my brain has evolved to looking at the acting the way that I do. And I'll get to there later. It's a weird perspective, but different. And understanding that this is human behavior, that we're not creating character, we're just allowing other human traits and belief systems to be our own. Like I say, I probably teach more from an Eckhart Tolle book and a Tony Robbins book than I do from Uta Hagen, even though I use Uta Hagen as some of my basic technique methods. But when you understand that you're not, you know, you let go of that performance idea. Like, I'm not even a big fan of the word performance, because performance might be useful if we're talking about how to make sure the audition's worthy. But when you're talking about being present in the moment of being this human, living from A to B, C to D, there is no performance, right? Once you've owned the belief system, there is no more character, if you want to call it. It's you. And then you can't do anything wrong because it's you. You're living truthfully in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You might have adopted belief systems, which by adopting those shifts you. But that's where we go back to when we were talking about, you know, human beings and actors always thinking, oh, I get to be a character. I get to be someone else. It's like, no, you don't get to escape you. You can act like someone else, but you never get to leave you. So can you adopt or allow things that make you live differently, not act differently? For instance, someone that grows up having an abusive father, if someone raised their hand to them, they might flinch just out of life habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
They might hit back, just not knowing. That's a different perspective of being a human being in scenes than let me see how they would act and then try to act the way I think the scene would look. To me, that's acting. What we're doing, especially when it comes to more like film and TV versus like a stage, because the stage, I get it. I have to be vocal to a certain extent. It's a different muscle, right? I always say like a lion and a house cat. I'm not going to get in the ring with a lion because it's big and I know it's big, but we're aware of that. I'll fuck with a house cat, but that cat might fuck me up because those little things are ferocious and you just never know when it's going to happen. And that's, to me, film and television. All that stuff's in there. We're not trying to show anybody, but the camera's getting everything because the intention and the reality that's going on for you. Whether that, and I always say, like, with adults, I want it to be real. For kids, I'll just say, hey, let's play for real, because kids don't need that. They can play for real. There's no gap there. So with a kid, you say, let's play for real. And you say, oh my God, that's the biggest spaceship ever. It is, immediately, right? But the adult, is it like a circle? Fuck, what do you see? Oh, I don't see anything, but I'm trying to, like, what should we make it? Whatever you see. Where are you at? Look up there. What do you see? The sky. Okay. See a spaceship. Right. But that's what I'm asking. Like, what kind of spaceship? No, you stop it. We want our brains have gotten to a point, and to me, it's always like it's a safety mechanism. People tend to get quiet when the conversations start if they're afraid they might say something silly. The same as, like, your friends and family will always be like, oh, you're acting. What's your backup plan? But it's not, they don't mean it in that way. For them, right, their perspective is love. And they're like, well, I care for you and I want to make sure that you have something. Our perspective, we see from only our POV, which is, why the fuck would you ask me that? You don't believe me? Because our self-deprecating mind, of course, goes in that route. So it's always, for me, like, how can I get here, live here, and look out? Once I can find that POV, that's it. I'm here. I don't have a what would the character do moments anymore. There's only, this is how I do it, or this is what I want. How I do it will happen in the moment, and I don't know. And Aaron, to me, was that. It became about the behavior and the truth of owning these other things. How you acted in the scene, I could give a shit as long as it was truthful. And if it's truthful, it's probably great. But if it's not real, if I'm judging your acting, well, it's probably bad acting.
Yeah.
And that was him. That was my introduction to my Jewish whisperer.
And what you described with the UFO is when we become adults, which one day I hope to be one.
Someday. Don't strive too hard.
We lose the permission to play.
Yeah.
So it's like the kid was like, oh, look at that spaceship. It looks like a cigar, even though the kid wouldn't know what a cigar is. And the adult's like, I don't want to say the wrong thing and get a bad grade in the class. Mm-hmm. And I have to achieve and be great. And once you can push that away and just go back to being a kid and just saying, there it is. I'm not going to say that's all of acting, but
a good portion.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, like, you get a script, and per the adult, that script is the rule book. And all of a sudden, he lifts his left eyebrow. What are you doing? I said to do that. But why are you doing it? It said to do that. What made you do that? The script? No. And it's funny. I've had almost that exact same conversation. Not about the eyebrow. What was it? I was on a set. I was doing on-set coaching for a film in Alabama, I think, or no, maybe it was Georgia. It was a newer actor, and I'm not going to say nepotism, but maybe. And I remember the director going, "Hey, would you spend some time? It's a little scene, and I want to make sure you're comfortable with what's going on." I'm like, "All right, cool." So we sat down for a second. I was like, "Hey, what exactly is kind of the moment before here? Like, what's going on for you?" "What do you mean?" "Well, what's going on? What's going on before this scene for you?" "I don't know. I think we're shooting after lunch." "Okay. What in the script? What happens before you? For you, the human being that this, let's say, the character, before the character steps into this scene and says this dialogue, what is happening?" He's not in the script anymore than just that. I know that. I've read it. But what do you think this human might be doing right before this happens? And then we work through that, and it's like, oh, okay. All right. So you rush into this, you're running late, and you just blurt out whatever this line is because clearly you're running late from something, right? Yeah. Okay, but you don't know what? Why don't we figure it out? I don't know. Let's say you were taking a shit. Okay. Let's say you're taking a shit and then you realize time went off. You got to go. I would love to see you running here, finishing, getting the buckle done. And then whatever happens there happens. Okay. And now all of a sudden you see this light bulb that's like, this is going to be fun. And as soon as the fun part kicks back in, this thing becomes a whole new world. Now acting has this enjoyment versus, it starts as fun, but then people start getting in their head about what they have to make this scene into. And now it's not only is it stressful, but now you have expectations of what the scene's supposed to be, because in the scene it says they angrily blah, blah, blah. And TJ's probably heard me say this before, but that's what I call the button. There's an on button and an off button. To me, if you're trying to live up the expectations that the scene is supposed to be, because it's an angry scene, then you've pressed the button at the beginning and you start your scene ready, right? You're in angry mode. You have no clue why. Nothing's happened to make you angry. There was no moment before that brought you from anger. You just started off faking anger. But if you start off faking anger, then guess what has to happen for the rest of the scene?
You gotta fake it.
You have to fake it. Well, I'm not really angry. Great. Don't come in angry. But what if it's supposed to be angry? What happens right before the anger starts? She says, I can't believe you told your mother that. What did she tell your mother? I don't know. Let's make it up. Let's make it something that fucking pissed you off. Oh, and then the light again goes off. It's like, okay. It's like, great. Now, moment before, something simple. You're watching, Transformers with your wife. Everything's going great. And then you step into this, and then that triggers those things that connected. Synapse fires, and now something actually makes you angry, and you don't have to fake it because all you had to do was just be here watching Transformers. So we start real, and then let the scene or the other person, because again, for me, this has to be us allowing everything to be real. I have to allow you to affect me. If you call me whatever name that's supposed to affect me, I have to allow that to be truthful to me. Mm-hmm. And on the regular human, most of my work is, let's remove all that bullshit. I don't care what anybody calls me. You're not a child. You're not in high school. Who cares what they think of you? Just be here. That's all we could do, right? The rest of it, meh. But when we turn back to the work, and that's the only on and off button I really play with, is my actor takes everything personal because I have to allow all these things to be mine, right? We're not playing enlightened human beings. We're playing some kooky regular humans that have no idea outside of the box. They're truly just stuck in their box and they see life from their perspective. Us as humans, we can actually evolve further than that. Most of us, some of us. And we can allow ourselves to see from both perspectives. While yes, you can throw me in anything and I can just truly be and I'm good to go. If it's something specific that you give me time to then go put some time into and find that world for me, it's just a whole nother level. Because to me, that's when you get to see, that's when you finish the scene and someone goes, why the hell did you do that? Felt real. That's fantastic. Let's do it again. Versus, that looked well thought out. Thanks. Like, that's not a compliment to me.
Right.
Right. It's just not, no, like we were talking the other day, TJ. It's like no one ever says, man, you really got all your lines right.
That's
if
right.
That's our bottom line. We're starting low.
We'll be right back.
Have you been injured? New Orleans-based actor Jana McCaffery has been practicing law in Louisiana since 1999, specializing in personal injury since 2008. She takes helping others very seriously, so if you've been injured, Jana's offering a free consultation and a reduced fee to fellow members of the Louisiana film industry. She will handle your case from start to finish. She can be reached at janamccaffery@gmail.com or 504-837-1234. Make sure you tell her NOLA Film Scene sent you.
That's right. Very cool. So let's talk your acting community.
Sure. You want me to give you how I got to that thing?
Yeah.
So with Aaron, I grew up Catholic, and like used to teach catechism Catholic, and then moved to Los Angeles. And I've always just been interested in God and spirituality and just, whatever that meant to everybody else. And I remember like how Catholic I was. I was rollerblading with my bishop. That came out of my mouth. And I remember saying, what do you think about Buddhism? I've been reading some stuff about it, and it's like, oh, it's an interesting spirituality. But, if you're Catholic, you don't need to really worry about it too much. But I'm human. Like, there's like millions of people that believe in that. Wouldn't, how would that not give me some more information? Well, I mean, you can if you want to. And to me, that one little thing was like, this is what the box is like. This is what it's like living in a box. So when I started taking character with Aaron, every character I'd go to, because to me, spirituality was interesting, I would always find what spirituality or what their belief system was. Because, most of us live our day-to-day life based on these belief systems that we've had since we were probably a child. We've never questioned before. And then that and people's opinions helped us become the character we are now. And we're all character, we're just not all aware of it. So when I would do those, every time I got to play with another character, I was like, cool, I get to understand what the perspective is from their shoes in a deeper way than just like, oh yeah, no, I've played that character before. No, I want to understand it from their POV, to the point that if like it was something that I believed opposite of, I wanted to get to the point that I could argue with me to prove it wrong. And I feel like I kind of got there. So out of digging throughout the spiritualities of everything, and then that drove me to kind of the science and metaphysics kind of wrapped in all of that. And all throughout this time, I'm still continuing my training as an actor. I started coaching people for Aaron and doing that kind of stuff for auditions and things like that. And I'd started coaching on my own before I left Los Angeles, and then kind of started diving into some of the different spirituality, like spiritual groups out there as well. That's a lot when some of the manifestation kind of stuff was popping up. And I don't know if you know anything about Abraham Hicks, that kind of world. So I'm reading some of these other books that, funny enough, when you go into, and I look back at like stuff Aaron used to give us back in the day, it gives you like this big book of pamphlets and different papers and stuff. And I went back to like the reading list years later, and a few of these books that I eventually stumbled on myself, and I was like, oh, I figured life out. He had in there, and I'm like, that fucker still has me. But from reading and going through these things, it started affecting the way I coach. So when I'm coaching actors, it always came back to a level of that belief system versus just like, this is character and this is outside of you. I would stop going, hey, how would you do this if? And I would start saying, let's quiet down and go inside and see what this feels like. Because when you start getting tapped in, to me, we're all a portion, we're all a part of this God source, whatever you want to call it. So if I can start tweaking these things, you start widening your perspective. And for acting, when you're trying to play any character, I don't care if it's Hitler, you have to be able to find a place that you are doing something from the standpoint that you believe it is good. And that is the hardest part for everyone to get to. But if you can get to that, then it also immediately drops all of your judgment. And then when that's gone, you start looking at the whole world with a whole new set of eyeballs, because you don't have the judgment of going, oh, they're doing it because they're evil. They're doing it because they're bad. They're doing it because they want. All of a sudden, you're like, they're doing it because they think that's good somehow. And you start being able to look at that from a whole new way. And then your own life drops this huge portion of judgment that you grew up with, because it's habit. You can't not find judgment in some way, shape, or form being around other humans. It just is what it is, right? So the more I kept kind of figuring those things out, I started adjusting how I was coaching, and the actors were getting tons out of it for their work. But I have like psychiatrists and therapists that were coming back and be like, I use some of these things in my work now. I'm like, really? Yeah, because it would help people find a deeper part of themselves that they weren't comfortable finding before. Or if you think about the performance psychology, if I can play the person that I think I hate, and I can truly try to see something in that perspective, all of a sudden that hate's gone, and all of that weight that made you feel like shit all the time is also gone. You can start forgiving people for stuff that you might have thought was the worst thing you've ever thought they could do. And now you see it from a different point of view, and you're like, they didn't know any better. The example we used earlier about the abusive dad wasn't hitting his kid because he thought that was the best thing to do. He was doing it because he thought that was the best way to help him learn, or it was his shortcomings at the time. So while that doesn't give justification for hitting a kid,
Sure.
it gives you a perspective to understand where that person was, that allows you to forgive them, that also allows you to go, that was weighing on me more than them. And it's just the mentality and the mindset that would get changed through some of these things that made me start going, I want to offer this to humans more than necessarily just actors. Because, when it's in the actor box, people just automatically go, oh, yeah, I don't really want to be an actor. And like coaching CEOs and things, as soon as they heard the word, they're like, I don't need an acting coach. Oh, well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm really just trying to help you stop doing that acting bullshit that you're doing on camera that I see all over your social media. What do you mean? Well, you're kind of acting professional when you get on your social media, because I didn't see that guy in this meeting at all. Well, yeah, because you have to be professional. Do you? Because if I were going to hire you, I'd want to know that the person that shows up that I'm finding, I feel like I know, not all of a sudden is a completely different human being. All right, we can try this. And then all of a sudden there's a little bit of like, a little scratch of the surface. But yeah, so going through all that, I wanted to, after pandemic and all that cray-cray that went through, my wife went through some health stuff, and I took a huge break, just taking care of, home and family and kiddo. And then as I started coming back to this, I was like, yeah, I'd love to just open the studio again and start doing that, because my most fun was having a full-on studio here in New Orleans, from audition technique to beginning technique, going through like actual scene study and going up from an intermediate and advanced and then an actual master class. That's the most fun for me. I enjoy being in the thick of it, and you have a full set that you get to play with to be a human, because that's when you get to see all of the actual things that happen. When you have to actually get up and walk over to do something, all of a sudden you're like, since when do you walk like that? What do you mean? Why are you walking so funny? I've always walked like that. No. Maybe it's character. No, that was a good try, but that's definitely not character. It's like you get to see the full body do stuff. Whereas an audition, we have a little bit of a box we can only play in. So there's a limit. Now, you have a room, so hopefully your camera can view you enough that we can do a little bit of a scene study from being on camera now too, which works to an extent. And I was trying to figure out how to do that again, but then you got to pay for a studio, you got to have this, and it's overhead. And I'm like, I don't want actors to be. The industry's not going crazy. The last thing I want is anyone having to go, pay for expensive classes. So I'm like, how can I find a happy medium? So I started Tilt originally was, here's god awful amount of hours from all the workshops I've done over the years. They'll be in there. Here's courses on full on technique that also kind of combines that manifestation actor tractor method that I've kind of figured out over the years. It's in there. And then there's a fast tracked acting, and I kind of set it to where it's like, when you first start acting and you start auditioning because you think that's what you're supposed to do first, but you have no clue what you're doing. And you don't want to go take a class and actually learn a full-on technique. That takes way too long. I want to act now. So the fast track is like, here's like the kindergarten version of how to understand what you're doing so you don't make a complete fool of yourself. And you can get some headshots and resumes, and it looks like a professional setup while you're going through an actual technique class and learning how to actually act until you get to an audition class and a master class and all that stuff. I had all that, and I was like, yeah, I can just offer this $47 a month, and we'll do like, once a week we'll jump on for live session. And that way I can kind of help people where they're at and whatever. And then I got antsy, like 4 days in. I want to teach. I want to be in the class. I want to do something. So when she was like, well, why don't you just add a couple, some live sessions where you guys can still do, audition technique and that kind of stuff in the group. Okay. Yeah, I'll just do that. So like 2 days passed by, and then I put it to $99 a month because I had adjusted stuff. I'm like, all right, if we're going to be doing classes, they're going to be here a lot, and it's worth it. So I'll switch it to this. Plus, when you have something too cheap, the mind just like, it's just whatever. I'll show up when I want to. And then Michelle was like, so do you adjust thing? I was like, yeah. There's like 8 live sessions now. 8? I thought you were just going to add like a couple. There's a couple. There's a couple more. So now it's 8 live sessions a week. But like, 2 of them are, like 30 to 45 minute sessions. We're doing some kind of mindset stuff and structuring out your week. Make sure you got your goals and kind of some accountability stuff. Cause that's some of what I do when I'm consulting for coaches and stuff. And then, midweek was like a hump day Wednesday. So we just meet up in the mornings again. How's those 3 things going? Let's finish up the week strong. What are we working on? And then the Wim Hof at the beginning as well. So it's just kind of 2 of them are more us chatting, going through that. And then we've got some actual kind of let's bring your work and work on something. And then kind of an improv-y version of it. Because to me, being truthfully living in the moment and doing something with someone that is, given circumstances, not necessarily yours, that's acting. We still have to work on the same muscle. So if we can get you feeling the muscle and you don't have to worry about dialogue or getting things right, because, the brain and the actor, when it comes to getting your dialogue right, all of a sudden is like the most important thing. And I'm like, that's literally the last thing I worry about. I use the dialogue because I have to understand the scene, character, the terms, who these people are, what's going on, who am I, all that stuff. But I'm not trying to memorize any of that, because then it becomes that like you just memorized a song and now you can only say it back if the tune's the same. And that's when you get those actors that are just giving you the same one over and over. And I used to love those actors in class because I would fuck some stuff up. I'd step on your feet or just do something to just totally ruin the scene. Some people loved working with me. Other people was like, I'm not, not tonight. But yeah, so I built that out, and it's still got all the courses and all the other stuff. And then there's some sessions where you'll have me kind of live. You can post as many like auditions that you've done in the section, and we can kind of talk about it by there. Say you've got an audition due Thursday, but you want to get something on tape Monday and get some feedback. Cool, get it on there. Throw it under that section. I'll give you some feedback, and then you can do a retake if there's some stuff to work on.
The way I've been describing it is it's more than just acting classes and one-on-one. It's a community of like-minded people, because there's a chat section in there. And I mean, just the other day I was in there looking around, and you messaged me, and we ended up jumping on a call and had a virtual session right then.
Yeah.
And there's other people posting comments, and I already made another friend. It's a community, and it's really cool. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. And let's be real. It's 2025. The political spectrum has people at each other's necks for the most ridiculous shenanigans. So I wanted somewhere that we could all have some positive conversation, and I wanted the ability to kick someone out if I have to.
Yeah.
Because it's, look, it's a tough world out there. This industry, the way it's set up can be beastly if you don't have the right perspective or the right setup or the right mentor telling you, the right way to look at some of this stuff. I mean, we literally signed up to go hope people approve us for our art every day, sometimes 5 to 6 times a day. That can be grueling if you don't have the right mindset around it. And I think, to me, the mindset is probably 80% of what we do. Because if I can get your mind straight, then you can be present. You can be in the moment, because your fear level of trying to get it right like the scene should be or the casting director would like is gone. Nobody's on a pedestal. Because if you put casting directors or anybody else on a pedestal, you have to look up and they have to look down. I don't want nobody looking down at me. I will pass on an audition if it's just not for me. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste their time. I got other stuff I'd rather do. I'm not going to go, it's practice. You should do it anyway. Nah, that's good. I'm good. I'll practice if I want to practice, but I'm not going to go through the you've got 2 hours to get it done and get it on and sent off. And no, that anxiety stays with me for the rest of the week. That takes away from my kid. That takes away from my wife. I'm good. And you guys weren't there, but even when we had in-person classes, I never hesitated. If it was, we had scene study that night. If I had a good 3 to 4 hours ahead of time, and if something was going on for me energetically, and I was like, look, I'm not in the place that I would want to be to bring to my students, then I'm gonna let you know ahead of time. Hey, this class will not count against you, but we're gonna move class next week, and we'll see then. Because I don't want to. Mostly from understanding metaphysics and the spirituality and that connection that we have. When I get into a scene with you, we are exchanging energy. If you're both really good actors, I feel what you feel and you feel what I feel. My first example is when you come into class, I will line people up along the wall, not the wall because then they're backed up, but just in front of the class, right? And we'll get into a line. And I usually do this when we're starting like a brand new workshop because people don't have the context of what acting is versus being truthful. And I say, I want you guys to understand this. I want you to energetically feel what the difference is. I'm going to tell you all that I hate you right now. So just pre-warning. And I'll walk down the wall, walk down each person, take a second. I hate you. I hate you. I hurt you, right? I'm hating them. And then I finish. I'm like, all right, anybody take that personal? No? Cool. That's acting. Ready? Now we're going to do the other one. And I'll walk through with the intention. I hate you. I fucking hate you. I really hate you. And I would just walk down and I'd step back. Cool. Anybody take that personal? I hate you. That was gross. People were just like, that was horrible. That felt so nasty. Yeah. That's what it should feel like when you're in the present moment of a scene. You should feel, if someone is a horrible human, you should feel the horrible human, not the guy you had lunch with.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel funky because you don't have to talk. I can walk down that same road and not say a damn thing, and you can feel what I feel. And if you can do that, now we can worry about dialogue because you have an intention, you know what you're after, and you're going to affect people. When I would coach kids, like if we had to get something fast and on tape quick, I would I call a character into them. Like if it's a scene where they're dealing with a monster or whatever, I would let myself take a little monstery out. And I'd say, look, all right, I'm going to take as much of this. So it's probably going to scare you a little bit so that we can be in it for the moment. I'm going to stay back here behind camera. So, it's not going to I'm not going to be close to you, but I want you to know that I'm going to try to give you as much as I can. So you're a little bit scared. Okay. And they, it was fun for them. And every once in a while, they'd be like, that one was scary. That's probably our take though. Because they knew, they were like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. But they got to feel that enough that they didn't have to act. And once you can feel that little moment of like, oh man, that was truthful. And then you're hooked. Because once you can feel that truthful stuff, and I remember being in Aaron's class and it was back to back. I had gone from his like beginner technique class to his advanced scene study class in 2 or 3 months or something like that. And I had finished a scene, my scene partner, and we both sit down. He's very much like Billy Crystal. So he sits at his spot and he goes, Dean, you're one of the best actors I have. Thanks, Aaron. What do you mean by that? Like, I'm not joking. You're one of the best actors I have. Go on. It's like, you have made it this fast to my advanced scene study class, and I just realized you're still acting. I didn't know. I just realized it. That's how good of an actor you are. You faked it that far that you were in my advanced scene study class, and I didn't know you were still faking it. And I'm like, okay. Thanks for the compliment. Let's do the scene again. He's like, okay. So we did the scene again. And for whatever reason, that clicked so clear to me that I stepped out, got back, completely ran through my moment before my head, and whatever felt was felt. And then we started the scene. And we finished, and he goes, how was that? I don't remember shit. Good. Welcome to the class. I was like, fuck. But that was it. Like, as soon as you felt that and you realized you weren't doing anything because you were in it. Like, you don't finish having a conversation before you meet your wife and you're like, all right, I'm going to go to the bathroom. You get down to sit in the toilet and you're like, yeah, it was a good scene. You're not, you're just not. Now, there's sometimes like Brian, we probably shoot for the good scene, but most of the time you don't walk away from a conversation thinking, yeah, I acted well today.
Right.
But that was
Speaking of walking away.
Yeah.
We're going to have to call it.
Call it. Yeah. I don't even know what time it is. So I'm gonna give you the second version of the time that thing came back around to me. I'm in Atlanta. I think I had drove up for callbacks for something, booked something, drove back to New Orleans to shoot, no sleep, drove right back to Atlanta for callbacks for Iron Man something, maybe 3 or something. And I'm in the room, and I was running it on and off on the way there. My wife and I stopped to somewhat take a nap in the seediest motel. Like I put a blanket on the floor so my dog didn't walk on it. And I go into these callbacks or the audition. I think it's the first round, and I meet casting, and I'm just like somewhat wired on caffeine, maybe some sleep. My brain's not there whatsoever. And I had told them I'd be there. So I'm like, look, I'm a word guy. If I gave you my word, I'm going to be there. So I go in. They're like, all right, nice to meet you, Dean. We're really excited. We've been looking forward to seeing you. Blah, blah, blah. You have any questions? No, let's go whenever you're ready. Okay, let's do it. So they start the scene. And I just acted like a motherfucker. I'm acting. And I'm probably on like line 5. And all of a sudden I just went, and then did the rest of the scene as a fucking human being. And they probably thought I was so bipolar, because in my head, it just clicked to me. I was like, what are you doing? And I just turned off, locked back into her, heard her line, and kept going. But as a human. And I could only imagine, because it probably went from like clown character to like, this is a human. This is a human that just stepped into my office. And that brought me back around to the Aaron Speiser time where he was like, yeah, best acting ever. And that was not act. Like it was way beyond the worst. And I got back in the car and I told Michelle, and she was like, yeah, but it's probably one of those times where, you think you did really bad. I was like, no. No, that was bad. That's like I don't know that I want him coming back, because that creeped me out bad. That's how bad that one was. And she's like, are you sure? I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you hear from him after that?
Nope. Iron Man definitely got cast without me. But I am looking forward to working with Robert Downey Jr. someday. I want to do a Wing Chun movie with him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, martial artist, and we're in a similar thing there. So most of that just wanted to hit me, insurance purposes.
And on that note,
excellent. Well, Dean, thank you for joining us. It's been a long time coming, and I want to see if you have some socials that you want to mention. No? All right.
I don't want people, don't find me.
Thanks for joining us.
No, TJ's already going to go try to find stuff already. And, everything is at the Dean West. Pretty easy. Even the website is at thedeanwest.com. And you can find everything from there. Facebook's the same. And I think the only difference is LinkedIn, but actors don't do that.
Yeah, actors don't do that.
Actors don't do that.
Yeah. And they can find you can find
Tilt right down below.
That was articulate. Brian and I
you
talked
almost
for
had
a
a
living.
word.
burp.
You
Take
threw me a word that we opened this with.
You threw me off with the that threw me off completely. I'm still trying to scrabble that one out in my brain. But yeah, they can find the Tilt Acting School in the link down below.
Yeah. Come join us. We'll play for a bit. I expect to see Brian in there soon. He's got to bring me this audition he told me he can't share yet.
Yeah. Oh my God, the pressure.
The pressure.
Hey, you told me Cajun Wizard. I'm like, yeah, I want to see that.
Cajun Jedi.
Oh yeah, I want to see the Cajun Jedi. We'll record the sessions for sure, so that we can share. You can share it with everyone later.
Definitely,
to see where the Jedi came from.
Extra footage on the DVD and the Blu-ray.
See, we talk for a living.
Man, it's a good thing. Again, there's like a multiple personality situation I have going on up here, and most of the time they're over here in the closet, and I keep them there safely. But they've all got accents. Like my kid deals with them. And we didn't touch on any of those. So we made it through 2 episodes and you didn't meet any of them. That's a good thing.
We might have to do part 3 coming up.
Go find the movie End Trip, ENDTRIP. And there's some of them that show face in there. I'll say it that way.
Nice.
Yeah. Other than that, thank you guys. This was a pleasure. Had a good time.
Nice.
You're welcome. We had a blast.
Yeah, likewise. We also need to plug your podcast, Dean.
Yeah, sure. Come find me everywhere. The Dean West Perspective, and it's all kind of psychobabble, from the industry stuff all the way to my spiritual weirdness. That my woo woo comes together in one place. So feel free to check me out.
Yeah, you've had a pretty eclectic gathering of guests on your show.
Yeah, it started off where I was like, yeah, I wanted to do something for industry stuff, but then, you've heard now what my mind goes to when it talks about To me, acting in life and everything is just a combined thing. So I couldn't just go there, because if you're taking in your regular life and your health and the stuff that's going on in our world and us as actors, all of that to me is combined, because we're affected by everything and we're working on the truthfully creating life. So why would I want to put that in a box?
Yeah.
Go online and find his woo woo.
Woo woo. You want a weird one? Oh man. Yeah, I'm going to say it. So when I was a kid, I didn't want to wipe my own butt. Do you think we were going there?
Here we go.
So I would, instead of I was embarrassed to be like, hey, somebody can wipe my butt, unlike my 5-year-old. And so from the bathroom, my grandma would always just hear, woo woo. Woo woo. I can only expect what I'm going to get walking in public now.
And
but yeah,
that's what I told people to go find online, and we're out of here.
Goodbye.
Good night, folks.